whatever it is, like, you get one life. Don't wait. Don't wait. You don't know what tomorrow brings. And I think all of us just don't know what is going to go on in this world. So navigate your life with joy. Like, take the time now, because I know my life would be totally different and I would be on that other trajectory that was kind of put on me by others if I didn't just take that leap of faith.
Hello and welcome back to the Avoiding Average podcast. My name is Susan Gates, your host, and today I am really excited because we have somebody here who I've been following on Instagram for a while now, and we've chatted before through astrology and astrocartography, but I really wanted to bring her on because her lifestyle is very different from how a lot of people live it. Her name is Lindsey. She is an Air Force veteran, a solo traveler, and founder of The Wanderer, which is a platform dedicated to healing through nature, travel, and simple living. After leaving the military and walking away from toxic relationships, she sold all her belongings, bought a van, converted it, and started her healing journey. These days, you'll find her homesteading with her friends in northern Idaho, hiking or traveling, and sharing stories about the messy, beautiful journey of coming home to yourself. I absolutely love that. And Lindsey, welcome to the show.
Thank you. Thank you so much for having me. Yeah, I love that we were able to connect over Instagram and then have just been able to follow each other. Both of us have kind of started new ventures and taken some leaps of faith lately, and it's just really cool to kind of have some parallels in our lives and following along with each other's journeys. So thank you for having me.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm so excited. I love what you've been doing, just like the whole concept of van life and then homesteading and all that. That's just like such an exciting adventure, at least in my eyes. And so I'd love for you to explain a little bit more about how you got there, because I don't know that a lot of people kind of just jump into that.
Right. Yeah. So I really think it kind of all started right around COVID. I think that time frame for a lot of people threw a big wrench in everybody's plans and brought forth a lot of just truths. Like, so many people discovered a lot of things about themselves, the good, the bad, the ugly. It definitely put people into a situation that we've all never experienced before, isolation, total change of routines and habits. Unfortunately, a lot of people, lost incomes and jobs and security. So for me, I wasn't too affected by it. My job was pretty critical. I was doing IT for the state of Alabama and working directly underneath the governor. So it was pretty interesting because I feel like I got a lot of direct information because of my proximity to like a public official of sorts. So I still maintained and went to work, but it was still just like an unsettling time. Like, there was a lot of unknowns, a lot of things just not going on or just not knowing what's going to happen. And my partner and I at the time were just talking about, like, what do we want to do here? Like, there's definitely a shift happening in the world, and like there could potentially be a shift in our lives. And we had talked about moving to Colorado at the time. So started looking into that, ended up finding a property. And in the midst of finding that property, we also were exploring potentially van life, bus life, something of the sort, just being on the road. But at the time, there were a lot of pets. We had an aquarium. Like,
Wow.
trying to figure out how to put that in a bus and a moving vehicle was going to be quite challenging. So we opted for something a lot more stable and found a homestead out in southern Colorado with 5 acres.
Nice.
So that kind of started my journey down the homestead route. Unfortunately, after getting there in the summer of 2020, found myself in that relationship that it started going downhill. The isolation and just some of those things, like I said, brought forth some truths in our own lives. And unfortunately, these were not healthy truths that came forward. A lot of past trauma started to affect the relationship, and unfortunately, the relationship turned abusive. So
Sorry.
I found myself at a crossroads after 6 months or so that this was not something that I wanted for myself or my future. And I really found myself getting lost, just spiritually, physically, mentally. And every day was just very, very painful and taxing. And I made the really hard decision to choose myself, honestly, and know that I deserved better and that there's something in life that is very special and meant for me. And this relationship was not it. So to skip a lot of the drama, had to end up getting a restraining order and some pretty extreme things that I'd never gone through before, but got out of the relationship and then was then on 5 acres in the middle of nowhere of southern Colorado and completely broken, completely lost. And knew that staying there held too many memories. So I kind of went back to the thought of, van life, schooly life. I didn't have the aquarium anymore. The pets were not an issue anymore, just kind of the
Mhm.
things that held me back before. And I really started thinking like, this is the time, if any. Like I'm
Yeah.
single, no kids, not really many responsibilities. This is the time. So
Yeah.
I put all my efforts into getting a van and selling my property, downsizing even more than I already had. And yeah, just things just kept falling into place. And that's when I knew like this path was the path I was meant to be on. The universe
Yeah.
just kept giving me these signs that, yeah, that I was on the right path. So anyway, I found my van in June of 21, just right after my birthday. I did a turn and burn out to Ohio. So flew out in the morning, landed by lunchtime. The dealership came and picked me up, brought me to the van, signed all the paperwork, and was back in Kansas City by like 9 p.m.
Wow. Okay.
So yeah, I had my van and then from there started working on building it out. I started with a guy that I met on Instagram that was building vans at the time. Started with him. Unfortunately, that relationship and business partnership ended after a couple months. Just didn't feel like we were on the same page about a lot of the design work and just timelines and cost and all the things. So really was like in a pinch because I had a lot left I needed to do. At this
Yeah.
point, I'm homeless. I'm couch surfing on friends' couches or staying, in my van that has no bed, no nothing in it.
Mm.
And some of my best friends from the military, they were stationed in Colorado. So I met back up with them. And my buddy's father had just retired, and he is kind of a jack of all trades, but very
Nice.
much a handyman in woodworking. So I messaged him and asked if he would be interested in helping me finish my build, which was a lot of cabinetry, framing, a lot of woodworking items.
Mhm.
So he agreed to it and graciously helped me finish out my van. So
That's amazing.
after that, that brings me to about the spring, summer ish of two, and then started once that build was finished up, or at least in a good enough spot that I had my basic necessities. I started traveling. Just started driving around. And the beautiful thing about being in the military is you kind of have people, people from all over.
Yeah.
So I really started thinking, like, what do I want to do? This main focus was really to just work on myself, spend time
Yeah.
with myself, find myself, learn how to love myself again, um, and do it all while enjoying my favorite things, which is being outdoors, being in
Yeah.
nature. And I find those places to be so healing in itself. You can get really good
Mhm.
grounding, the energy of just nature and fresh air, and going to new places and seeing the vastness of mountains and valleys and like the Grand Canyon. It really reminds you and humbles you as to like how precious this life is and how
Mm.
small we really are.
Mhm.
And yeah, so all those things just really put back into perspective and really just poured back into to myself, which at the time is exactly what I needed.
Yeah.
So yeah, that was kind of the gist of the van journey. And then in those travels, I ended up coming up to the Pacific Northwest because that was an area of the United States I hadn't traveled yet in my
Okay.
lifetime. So was up here and I had joined a kind of a life coaching group with Cody Alford, who runs We Defy the Norm. And yeah, I knew he was in the area and I messaged him and just asked if he was up for meeting since I was part of his coaching group and just
Mhm.
really felt connected to like a lot of his message and what he was saying. And so met up with him and met his wife and his family. And after a couple discussions, they found we were all kind of on the same page about homesteading and life goals and purpose and all the things. And I was definitely starting to crave some stability from van
Yeah.
life. There was a lot of stress of moving a lot and jumping from place to place, figuring out where you're sleeping every night. Especially as a single woman, there's a lot of safety
Mm.
concerns.
Hmm.
Decision fatigue definitely set in at times. And so, yeah, I was looking for some stability, and they had just brought a new property with some acreage. And they said, if you're interested in having a home base or settling down somewhere, we'd be happy to have you on our property if you want to try to find a tiny house or, want to build a little cabin, whatever. So, yeah, I ended up a month later finding a tiny house and moved up here within like 2 months of all of that. So,
Yeah.
and honestly, the rest has been just so amazing. So
Yeah.
absolutely amazing and incredible. And my life path right now is something I could have never even planned or dreamed of. So yeah,
Yeah.
that's kind of my highlights of that whole journey.
Yeah. That's such an incredible journey of like, one, I love the fact that like once you made that decision to choose yourself, the universe kind of like was helping you all along the way. And I feel like that's
Yeah.
a very clear sign that you're on the right path too.
Yeah.
And then just like the experience of going out and being out in nature. I have the exact same feeling about going out into nature. Like, and I think when I was in Sedona, it was just like
Mm,
being around the red rocks. Like, from a distance, they look very large, right? But then like you get up close to it and you see really truly how large it is and how small you are in comparison, which is like
right.
it is humbling, right? And it does help you remind you that like, even if you are going through challenges and things like that, it's just a small part of the world that you're in. And so yeah, I love that. So you've settled down and in a homestead now in northern Idaho. And I guess for anyone listening who isn't familiar with like the concept of homesteading, could you explain that a little bit more?
Yeah. So what we do, and we've kind of made a fun name for ourselves. We call it a farmune. But yeah, it's just a couple different families that we're currently on about 7 acres. Cody and Stephanie own the property and the main house on the property. And there's the other couple of us that are on the property. We all have tiny houses. And we really, for us, our goals are self-sustainability. So we like to grow our own food. We have chickens. And then, there's, again, with the military and just kind of Cody's and my mindset, because we both have a military background, is that community aspect. There's such power and love in that, and being able to like support each other. And here in America, we are very, isolated, but the family unit has really changed a lot compared to if you go over to Europe. You go visit like a family over there, and in what we would consider a single family house is multiple families living, in this building. And you've got grandma, you've got cousins, aunts, uncles, like the whole family unit is still very together.
Mm-hmm.
And that's just something that when I was stationed over in Europe, I saw and loved. And then, the military had this community aspect. And then after leaving the military, I feel like that's really a struggle point with veterans, is then all of a
Yeah.
sudden you're extracted from this very close, trusted community. And you're just kind of supposed to be out there by yourself or with just your family. Um, and I truly believe that family units, it takes a village.
Mm-hmm.
You see it in other countries and other cultures. Like everything is very much a community and a village unit,
Yeah.
and everybody kind of has their roles and their tasks. And if somebody needs help with something, other people are there to pitch in, raising children, hunting, gathering, like going kind of back to those basic necessities. So yeah, that's kind of like our mindset and structure around it, is just supporting each other through life and all of our goals, while also just being as self-sustainable as possible,
Mm-hmm.
knowing where our food is grown. And also just like, well, my friends have children, so we're all working together to raise these children, both educational and life skills.
Yeah.
I feel like life skills are a thing that aren't really taught in mainstream schools.
Not really.
So we're very interested in bringing those aspects back. And yeah, so that's kind of our goals around it, and it's been great. I mean, sure, we have, it's we all have to work on our communication, and it's different, but
Hmm.
we all have that same goal. So like no matter what like issue or like something comes up that is unexpected, we all tackle it together, and
Mm.
it's us against whatever hurdle we're trying to cross together. So
Yeah.
I love it.
Yeah. Wow, that's amazing. Growing up, did you have like a large family at all or anything like that around you similar to that?
Yes and no. So I'm one of two. So I just have a younger brother. So as far as our core family unit, pretty small. My mom is one of six. My dad is one of four.
Okay.
So lots of cousins and sorts. My mom's side of the family is in Minnesota predominantly, and I grew up in Kansas. So really only saw them in the summers. My dad's brothers were all mostly in Kansas City. So I did have like a decent little group there. Um, and really it was up until my dad's mom, my grandmother, died in 2007, that once that kind of happened, she was the glue. Like I think most
Mm.
families experience this when there's
Yeah.
a loved one that passes, and the whole family unit kind of all goes their separate ways at that point. But up until then, so up until 16 years old, yeah, I feel like I had fairly large, I mean 10, 12, 15 people gatherings,
Okay.
which yeah, I felt like a pretty good little community like that, for me. So
Yeah. So I guess that's apparent then that community is a very important aspect of your life. And
yeah.
um, I mean, I think it's important in anybody's life, honestly. I think everybody needs some sort of community, whether it's in person or online or whatever, just
Hmm.
that support system.
Totally.
So I love that, you have that in your homestead now.
Hmm.
What was it like going from basically the van life to the this homestead community?
It was great, honestly. Again, I was kind of at the point of looking for that stability,
Hmm.
but when I did move and like kind of get settled down, I didn't have a full-time job. I wasn't working, so there was kind of like these struggles of like being somewhere new, trying to figure out, do I lean back on my skill set that I learned in the military that I got really burnt out from? Or because I kind of treated my van life journey as like a sabbatical.
Okay.
I worked for part of it, and then about halfway through the journey, I got laid off. And I told
Okay.
myself, you know what? This is also a sign from the universe. Like, let's just really take this time to invest back into myself, like, spend this time that I would be working on myself. So when I settled down up here, I found myself at that crossroads of, what do I need to do here? I feel like the sabbatical is coming to an end. Kind of need to get back to adulting a little bit.
Yeah.
So I explored a lot of different work opportunities up here, and ended up getting back into a 9 to 5 for a little bit just to get, some stability underneath me. And then ended up networking. And now I'm working for one of my buddies' companies, Whoopi
Nice.
Hoodie. And that has been an amazing journey in itself. I'm COO of the company, and
Nice.
running a business, which I've never done before, but I'm very structured and very organized. So like I have the skill set. It's just I've never applied it to something specific like this.
Yeah.
And yeah, so it's all been amazing. And then yeah, having the community. So again, being single and on the road, any breakdown, any fix, and that's mentally and like literally, like
Mm.
anything I had to just handle myself, which there was so much strength in that, and that time was perfect for all of that. But then jumping into this community, now I'm learning to be vulnerable. I'm learning to
Mhm.
ask for help, which I am not good at.
Yeah.
I am very much pride myself on being hyper independent and strong, and I don't need any help. I don't want to be a burden upon anybody. But what that's really just been is a giant mirror to show me the things that I need to work on. Like, there is strength in asking for help. There is strength in being vulnerable. And yeah, so all of those things, without having the community, like I don't think I would have realized that. I think I would have kept going down that road of hyper independence and eventually ran into issues with that and probably more extreme burnout. So yeah, it's all been just, again, things that I never even thought I needed
Mm-hmm.
kind of just presented themselves at the perfect time.
Yeah. Oh gosh, I love that. I definitely relate to the
Yeah.
the hyper independence and not really being able to ask for help and that sort of thing. And it's a tough transition to make when you've gotten so used to depending on yourself for so long. But I mean, I think that is a great opportunity too when you're in that community to be able to open yourself up to and asking for that help because that's what they're there for too, right? So you've settled into this community now and kind of hindsight's 2020, right? But looking
Right.
back at where you were growing up, you had mentioned that you had like a community, your cousins and things like that in your younger years. But like, what did like the average life, or what did you expect your life to kind of turn out to be back then versus how has it changed?
That's such a great question. Yeah, I think growing up, I come from a very middle class white family. So my destiny was, graduate high school, go to college, find a spouse, get married, have kids, and settle into some kind of job. I always was pursuing education. So I was, my at the time, I think, just to be a teacher and teach for 20, 30, 40, honestly, a long, long time, because there's not much in it as far as getting, a good retirement. So
Yeah.
yeah, working a really long time and staying in Kansas probably, and, just kind of having a normal life. Go on summer vacations with the family, retire at 65, pray that my health is good enough to experience some of the cool things in life that I always dreamt about but never had time for. And then, yeah, leave this earth, happy and fulfilled with those things.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, I think that that very much was like my dream, or what I was kind of, expected to have a life around.
Mm-hmm.
And my life is totally opposite. I did the teaching thing. I got my degree, figured out very quickly that I did not want to teach. And then that's when I joined the Air Force, kind of did
Okay.
my rebirth, restart in life. And then that, put me on a huge trajectory. Luckily, the Air Force sent me, over to Germany, and I got to
Nice.
experience a lot of time overseas and did a ton of travel. I took full advantage of that because that was one of my goals when I joined the Air Force, not only to kind of get a restart, and get a new skill without having to go back to school,
Mm-hmm.
etc., but I really wanted to travel, and I did it. I traveled and fell in love with traveling and
Yeah.
just cultures and other parts of the world. And yeah, I'm still doing it. Still very much, that is my passion, that is my love. And I'm now focused on sharing those stories of travel and showing people that travel and nature are very much forms of healing, and very, there's huge opportunity here to learn a lot about yourself, especially if you're willing to travel solo.
Yeah.
It's a very intimidating thing, but it's amazing. It kind of is a adrenaline rush in its
Mm-hmm.
own sense. So yeah, I think my life is completely opposite, and I wouldn't have it any other way. Any
Yeah.
other way. And I'm actually very thankful that, again, like you said, hindsight. So certain things lined up and happened the way they have, to where I'm now on this completely different trajectory.
Yeah. Oh gosh, I love that. I mean, like what you described for your your dream life, I guess growing up is very typical, I think, of like just the American dream
Yeah.
in a sense, right? Like and you're doing something completely different, which is why I love what you're doing, to be honest.
Yeah.
And it's, I don't know. I mean, I think it's just so cool that like you're able to follow your own instinct too of like what
Mhm.
is right for you as opposed to what you've been fed is the right thing to do in a sense. I also do love that you solo travel too because that kind of aligns really closely with like a lot of stuff that I'm working on as well.
Mhm.
And so you had mentioned that, you know, solo travel on itself can be very healing, which I fully believe too. Some
Mhm.
like the most healing trips that I've taken have been by myself because you kind of get that space to yourself where normally you wouldn't.
Mhm.
And so I would love to hear a little bit more about your experiences solo traveling.
Let's see. So I traveled actually quite a bit in my younger years. I was part of a really awesome church that had a very active youth group. And so we did a lot of traveling within the states, and that was,
Nice.
group travel. But still putting me out there and putting me in, we were very focused on helping communities. So one of our trips, we went to Boston and we were serving people with AIDS in that community and doing food banks. We're going out to LA and helping the homeless there, going down and did hurricane relief when Katrina happened.
Oh, wow.
And we were down in Bayou La Batre, Alabama, doing remodeling houses. So putting us in a lot of situations, again, coming from kind of a very middle class kind of community, where very sheltered, very
Mm-hmm.
privileged, and putting us in situations that we wouldn't normally experience.
Yeah.
And that really started to open my eyes. And I very much had this passion around serving others.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and then it was then right before the military, when I was in college, I studied abroad in New Zealand. So that was definitely my first time traveling solo, not just solo, but also overseas. I had never
Yeah.
been overseas before. So kind of two really big things at the same time. And that experience was so profound and amazing. New Zealand is still, there's yet to be a place that has topped New Zealand for me as far as favorite places I visited. But I was definitely in a different kind of mindset at the time. I'm in college, first time away, and found myself very homesick and still made the best of being there. But yeah, it wasn't, I still just felt this huge insecurity and kind of like tethered to home. And my identity was very kind of like wrapped up still in kind of in what other people kind of expected my life path to be.
Mm-hmm.
It really was the military that I chose me again. I
Yeah.
chose the path that I wanted to take. Yeah, I traveled solo a lot because with joining a little bit later, I was 24 when I joined, had my bachelor's degree. So a lot of my peers, were 18, fresh out of high school, had never had a real job, had never
Mm-hmm.
lived on their own. So a pretty big, difference in experience in life. So I so it was either those were my peers or the people that were around my age were married and had kids. And it's harder to travel when you've got multiple schedules to manage, even in the military.
Mm-hmm.
And so, yeah, I found myself, people couldn't go, couldn't coordinate babysitters, et cetera, or just had a lot of excuses. And I was like, I'm not wasting any time. Like
Yeah.
this, this is my time. 2 years over there went by so fast.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and yeah, if I decided on a Tuesday I wanted to go somewhere that weekend and no one wanted to come, well, then I'm going by myself. I don't know, there was no other option in my
Yeah.
mind. And yeah, once I started doing it and just got more and more and more comfortable with it, it's my favorite way to travel now.
Yeah.
I love traveling by myself. It's easy. I know my routine and what I like to do. If I want to wake up and have a lazy day or if I want to wake up and conquer the world, it's my decision.
Yeah. I agree. I think that's like one of the underrated perks of traveling by yourself is like you're literally on your own time. Like you don't have to worry about anybody else or what they want to do and just go at your own pace. So I love that. Where are some of your favorite places to have traveled solo?
New Zealand. New Zealand for sure. I
Hmm.
just went to Iceland in
Yeah.
late March, and it's up there. It's
Yeah.
it's it's
Okay.
so close to the New Zealand ranking. Iceland was amazing, so incredible. And it was to me a perfect place to also solo travel.
Okay.
I rented a van and lived
Nice.
in a van for 10 days and traveled around the ring road, and it was amazing. Where else? Europe is just so friendly for a lot of that
Mm-hmm.
as well. I think I loved Poland. I loved Austria as well. I'm a big
Mm,
Sound of Music fan, and so when I went to Austria, I did a big Sound of Music tour and went
nice.
around and saw all the things. And that one was really special to me because my dad's mom is a lot of my inspiration for travel. She
Oh,
traveled a lot with my grandfather. Um, and she had visited Austria as well, but she was the one every Sunday when I would go over there and visit her. One of probably the 5 VHS tapes that she had to watch was one of them was The Sound of Music, and that is to this day my favorite movie. So being able to go there and kind of revisit all that, almost 10 years after her passing was really cathartic and just
mm,
yeah, just really awesome. Love Spain. Love, love, love Spain. I've actually thought about moving there at some point in my life.
nice.
Yeah, Spain's super great. Italy. I could name them all, honestly. I think each place has a special memory and a special place in my heart. And I think that will only continue to grow the more I travel around the world.
Yeah, I love that. I just love like that you've been able to travel to so many places too on your own. And I guess for anybody who has been considering traveling by themselves but hasn't quite gotten the courage to do that yet, like do you have any advice for them?
Start small. Like there's no pressure. If you wherever your hometown is or wherever you live currently, find something that's, I don't know, a couple hours away, or just start semi-local. Don't put a lot of pressure on yourself to go big and grand your first time. I actually don't recommend it in certain ways. Like it can be very intimidating and cause a lot of anxiety, which there's kind of that balance, right? You kind of have to
Hmm.
walk that line of, is there just enough to push me to be uncomfortable and experience something amazing, or is it truly going to cause me a lot of anxiety? I'm going to have a terrible time.
Yeah.
So you best, but yeah, start small. Start, if you like to hike, go find a hike. If you like cultural things, find something. If you're in a major city, like find a something cultural. There's so many like apps and websites now. Like what is it? Airbnb, I think, has experiences
Hmm.
now that you can kind of like look and see what's maybe kind of around you. Groupon, I used to use Groupon all the time to find cool stuff in my area, like a
Nice.
pottery class or go-kart racing or yeah, start small and work your way up. Again, this is your life. Like there's no expectation. So, yeah, do what makes you feel comfortable, but at least take that step. Be brave enough
Yeah.
to take that step and look into something if you have that itch. I
Yeah.
definitely encourage you to explore it.
I love that. Yeah, that's such great advice too, because I think it's if you can go somewhere that is close enough where it still feels safe, then it kind of opens you up a little bit more to the possibility of going even further the next time. Also good for your nervous system too, to take it small.
Yeah, totally.
So, like when you're traveling solo, I know that sometimes it can get a little lonely. So, what are some of the things that you do to combat loneliness when you're traveling by yourself?
Well, I ended up getting a cat. Don't know if I'd fully recommend that because that's a pretty big and long commitment, but
Hmm.
yeah, yeah, getting a pet of sorts, a beautiful thing. I mean, with technology and all the things, we have our cell phones are pretty much attached to us at all times. Being able to just recognize those moments of loneliness, I very much encourage a lot of people to just sit with that first and really just try to figure out maybe where that loneliness is coming from. Because we do, again, we're so connected, we're so stimulated, and I think that's just our new norm. And I don't think that we are meant to be this stimulated and this connected to so many things. And so, yeah, I think the first thing is to really just sit with that feeling and just try to see what it's telling you. And then, if it's days, weeks, or, it's kind of an extended and you've done some introspection around it, then, yeah, FaceTime somebody, FaceTime a friend, get on, if you're traveling and you're in a new place, get on, the websites and the apps to see like Is there a local something going on, like a paint and sip, or something just I'm a foodie. So finding some kind of like food tour or walking
Ooh,
tour,
yes. Yeah.
because you already know that you're going into a group. I mean, food's such
Hmm.
a community thing, and
Hmm.
there's people aren't walking into it with like egos, and at least from what I have experienced, it's just everyone's there to eat and have fun, like
Yeah.
eat, pray, love kind of thing.
Yeah.
Yeah, and then you just start talking over food, or hey, where are you from, or how long are you visiting, and have you been here before? And next thing you know, it's 2 hours later and you're both sharing your life story, and you have a new best friend, and this is your new email pen pal for the next 6 months or
Hmm.
years even. The amount of people that I still keep in contact with that I've met over the last 10 to 15 years and within my travels, it's actually a pretty decent amount of people.
Yeah.
Of just, yeah. And I love meeting people that way, because again, you've kind of like taken yourself out of the control aspect and you're meeting people that you wouldn't normally meet.
Hmm.
And I truly believe that then the universe is in control, and they're going
Hmm.
to put somebody in your path that you're meant to meet.
Hmm.
And whether it's they're meant to hold up a mirror and maybe challenge you or trigger you in some way, or they're, again, like a soulmate on a level,
Hmm.
like on a platonic level, like you're finding somebody that, I mean, honestly, I feel that connection with you in a lot of ways. Like our paths crossed. And when you did my first reading and stuff, like there was just so many parallels. And the more that I followed you, like there's more that keep popping up. We both worked at Home Depot. Like it's just, there's so many things. And again, we wouldn't have met each other. Social media kind of did a little bit of that for us.
Hmm.
But again, it was travel. Like
Hmm.
you found me through my travel content. So
Hmm.
I love when you let the universe take charge and let
Yeah.
it do what it's meant to do.
Yeah. I 100% agree with that. I think it's so amazing, like who you could be introduced to in your travel if you're just open to it, right? I think some of the trips that I've been on in the past, even though they were like in the US, I had gotten paired up with a roommate or I found a roommate online. They like the conversations that we had were just like incomparable to any others that I've had with other people, right? It's just like you can form such deep connections with people when you're traveling and you just never know who you're going to meet. You never would have stumbled upon them in any other way too. So I love that. And I love the recommendation to do like those group tours and things like that, because then yeah, it's just another way to meet people. And it's a little bit easier too than just going up to somebody at a restaurant or on the street or whatever and starting up a conversation.
Yeah, especially if you pick something, like I said, food or something that you truly enjoy, because
Yeah.
the people that are there also you have that common thing right off the bat, and so you have something automatically that you can connect on, you can talk about, kind of break that ice until you start seeing where the conversation goes from there.
Yeah. Yeah. Absolutely. So, like, with traveling alone, I know that there is the fear of, something going wrong while you're doing
Mhm.
that. So, as you've traveled through the over the years, like what have been some of the important things to keep in mind as far as safety goes, especially as a female solo traveler?
Yeah, man, I've got a few. I'd say the number one thing, and this goes for guys, girls, it doesn't matter. When you're in another country and you're kind of walking around, don't act lost. Like that's probably my biggest thing. So I can be in a totally new city. I have no idea where I'm going. I'm looking at my phone. I got my Google Maps downloaded and I'm like trying to navigate. But
Hmm.
at no point do I just kind of like stop, really like hyper focused in on my phone to where I'm not even paying attention to what's around me and like looking around like I'm lost. I fake it till I make it. I'm like walking and looking at my phone at the same time, but like I'm still walking, I'm still acting like I know where I'm going, but maybe I'm checking a message. I'm not necessarily like I play it off, right?
Hmm.
Yeah, you just kind of I have certain like things that I do that I've just learned over the years that are my go-to, to not look as lost, but
Yeah.
kind of fake it till you make it. Don't act lost. I mean, it makes you very vulnerable. It's very easy to spot.
Hmm.
And if you're already in a country where maybe your skin tone isn't the same as everyone else, or you're already kind of sticking out, or you're dressed very American and, that's very noticeable in other countries.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, if you're already kind of like a sitting duck, don't cover yourself in, like bright yellow paint on top of it. So, yeah, don't act lost. That has gotten me out of a lot. And kind of again, with the fake it till you make it, like that false sense of confidence. Like, act confident when you're doing something, or if someone starts to approach you, like either look away, or if they're trying to, sell you something, like say no, direct eye contact, and then just keep moving. Like, don't let them stop you, or
Mm-hmm.
whatever. If you're feeling uncomfortable, like, or move to a safer place, like, just have that confidence about you that, like, I'm in control of this situation. No, I don't want what you're selling or what you're trying to talk to me about, or if they're asking for directions, but you can tell that they're not really lost. Just, yeah, have that confidence about you and that surety. That for me has gone a long way. What else? Be prepared. I think that's huge. I'm pretty big at, yeah, planning out my itinerary, or having some like places that I know are around, that I know are well populated or safe, or making sure I have good communication on my phone. Most people's phones are eSIM these days, so it's really easy to get an eSIM for another country. So there's really
Mm-hmm.
no reason to not have service in other countries. If you don't have service, download maps ahead of time. Again, there's a lot of options there. Google Translate has been great. Make sure you have some of your local language if it's different than your native language. Have that kind of on the ready. So if you do need to ask, where's the bathroom? I need help. Where's the police station? I'm lost, et cetera. Where's an ATM? Those types of things. Yeah, be prepared. I think again, it's all around just try to not to make yourself too vulnerable, and in a bad way vulnerable. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? Like, not emotionally. Um, yeah, those are probably my top three tips.
Awesome. Yeah, those are all really great tips. And I think that it, I think just being prepared is like one of the biggest things, right? Is
Yeah.
knowing what you're walking into and then having everything that you need basically at your fingertips too, in case something does go
Mm-hmm.
wrong. Because you never know, right? What's going to happen. I mean, I've heard plenty of travel stories or horror travel stories. And so, um, yeah, I think you can never be too safe, honestly. But also
Yeah.
just don't let that
I
limit
agree.
you in not being able to do the things that you want to do either, though.
Yeah. Yeah. And what I think too is, with experience comes that preparedness. Like, put yourself in these situations to, again, start small and then grow your confidence, and then just build from there. And you will, in no time, figure out what works for you, what doesn't. When getting on a subway, try not to have your back or your bag, on your back where you can't feel things. Or if, all of a sudden a rush of people come on the train and you're all like bumping into each other, you're not going to tell if someone's bumping into you, but also opening your bag really quick and taking out, your important items. Don't keep your important items that accessible to other people. Don't walk down dark alleys
Yeah.
at midnight. There's a lot of common stuff, that
Mm-hmm.
we're just kind of taught, hopefully from, as children.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, just start small. And again, put yourself in kind of, you got to walk that line of just that threshold of like, I'm uncomfortable, but I'm not unsafe. I don't feel unsafe,
Yeah.
and just keep trying to just walk that until you build up enough experience that next thing you know, you're traveling to Greece by yourself and having a great time. And, the whole safety thing is definitely in your mind, but it's not this anxiety ridden thought. It's just this, I know it's there, but I'm confident in my abilities, and I'm going to keep traveling and enjoying life.
Yeah. I love that. I love that. Well, Lindsey, I've really enjoyed this conversation. I feel like I could talk to you for ages about like all sorts of travel related things.
Likewise.
But if there's anything that you could kind of leave the listeners with, like based on your experience from travel or homesteading or even van life, like what is something that you would say just based on what you've learned about yourself too, that you could just leave a little bit of wisdom for them.
Yeah. What comes to mind really is listen to like that intuition or your gut. And if there's something there that, if you have always kind of been interested in taking up knitting or traveling or van life or pottery or basket weaving, like
Yeah.
whatever it is, like you get one life. Like,
Mm-hmm.
don't wait.
Yeah.
Don't wait. You don't know what tomorrow brings. And I think all of us, especially after 2020, got a very big reality check with that. And we just don't know what is going to go on in this world. So navigate your life with joy. Like take the time now, because I know my life would be totally different and I would be on that other trajectory that was kind of put on me by others if I didn't just listen to that gut or I didn't take that leap of faith. And honestly, failure is not a bad thing. One of the things that I learned in my coaching group that has stuck with me so close to my heart is fail fast and fail often.
Mm.
Like that is a beautiful thing. Like
Yeah.
take those risks, figure out, because that's where you're truly going to know and learn about yourself, like what you do like and what you don't like. You're going to learn really quick if you put yourself out there and actually try these things and not just let them sit on a dream board or in a cool Pinterest board that, you look and dream about every day, but never do, you know?
Yeah.
So I highly, highly encourage, yeah, doing something fun for yourself, chasing a dream, doing something that, yeah, is you think is not even achievable.
Yeah.
It is. It is if you put your mind to it.
Yeah. I wholeheartedly agree. I love that. So thank you for sharing that. If anyone wants to get in touch with you or see what you're up to, how would they find you?
Well, I've got a couple things going on. My Instagram is left-handed teacher. Um, and then I do have some YouTube content under the Wanderer. I've got it on my, let's see, on my jacket.
Nice. Look at that. I
Yeah.
love that.
So yeah, YouTube, I've got website going, so thewanderher.com. And then I'm hopefully going to be getting a podcast up and going, and
Yeah.
I'm very excited for that because I already know one of my guests that I would love to have on.
Thanks.
Of course, of course, of course. So yeah, website, YouTube, Instagram, depends on what your flavor is and what you're kind of interested in looking at. I got a couple options there. But yeah, and still trying to just figure out what the Wanderer holds for me. I definitely know I want to be an inspiration for people to not only just solo travel, but to use travel and being out in nature as a healing modality. Because yeah, it's been such a profound experience for me, and yeah, I feel very called to share that with others. So yeah, stay tuned for more on all that. It's a work in progress.
I love that. I love that. I'm so excited to see what else you put out there because I think there are a lot of people out there who want to do that sort of thing, but maybe don't quite have the courage yet to do it. And so I think seeing what it's like somebody else who's already done it is always very inspiring. So thank you for sharing that
Absolutely.
information, and I can't wait to see what else you do.
Yeah, thank you, thank you.
Yeah. But that's all that we have time for today. But thank you so much, Lindsey. I've really enjoyed this.
Yeah, thank you, Susan, so much, and I look forward to talking with you soon.